Hello and welcome to Mr. Russo's ninth grade English classroom. Right now my students are currently involved in a Do Now in which they are writing about what they think writing style means. Give you a couple more, give you a little bit more time and then Alright, anybody ready to share? Melissa.
I put that your style is your unique way of telling your story, and also like what kind of genre of a story that you're telling. Like if you're telling a horror or a drama.
Mm-hmm.
I put down the writing style can help you convey senses of emotion or even time passage, and sometimes you might even be able to tell what author you're reading if, say, you, I don't know, for some reason decided you're going to blindfold yourself and pick a random book and you read it. You might be able to tell exactly what author.
There's similar to that. There is a website where you can like copy and paste some of what you wrote, and it'll tell you what author you write the most like.
That's a very interesting website.
Mine happened to be Chuck Palahniuk, who wrote Fight Club.
I've been writing this very stylized book that's very different than what styles I would usually write.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's very interesting.
Anything to contribute, Glenn?
Just think the style is the thinking of the author, the way
That's a good way to put it.
the author is, just the thoughts of the author. If I write something, I'm really writing my own thoughts.
Yeah, you're trying to put in your own sense of self into it when you're writing. Now,
Yeah.
the point of this lesson is because I don't want to read essays when we get to the final point. I don't want to read essays. I don't want to read narratives by you guys that are just like, we just wrote this to fill in the assignment. I want to hear you talk. I want to hear you guys develop your voices and grow and convey meanings. When people who can convey meanings well can change the world. That's the whole point of this persuasive essay thing. If you can persuade somebody, you can win an argument. If you can do that in a formal writing, imagine what you can do on in your daily lives. Now, okay, now that we've talked about writing styles, why don't we discuss our favorite authors? It doesn't have to be anything academic related. It could be any author that you guys have ever read. Yes, Elizabeth.
I'm actually in between two authors now. When I was growing up, I really loved James Patterson because I liked the way that he conveyed action.
Mhm.
How there was some details, but the details wouldn't overshow the actions that were
It was
happening.
definitely more action oriented than
Yeah.
description oriented.
And now I'm liking an author named Drew Compassion, but I think that might just because I like the fact that he takes things like video games and
I was
adds
gonna say,
the
is he the
story.
Star Wars author?
Yes. his Mass Effect ones are much better.
Oh, okay, okay.
I
read
know you
that
don't
one.
like the Star Wars one, but the Mass Effect ones are better.
I can see that.
And I like it because there's, even past the book, there's more of an overarching story of, oh yeah, there's the planets and different stories going on all at the same time.
You like the connectivity of it.
Yes, I like the
kinda.
connectivity.
Actually, you know, in essays, when you refer to older essays you wrote, especially if you're don't, after you move on from me and have a different teacher, don't talk about an essay you wrote for me as if they knew what they were talking about, but you can always refer to an old essay you wrote in my classroom, because I think that gives a sense of, we're not just done at the one's assignment, we keep going. It doesn't stop. Learning is ever, forever, never stopping. Just because I'm a teacher doesn't mean I don't learn stuff every day. Anything you want to say, Glenn?
My favorite author is J.R.R. Tolkien.
Mm-hmm. Lord of the Rings.
The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings, yeah. It's very descriptive. And when he describes what's going on, I feel like I'm there.
It's like he paints a picture in your head with his words.
Exactly.
Which is funny because that's exactly the opposite of what you were saying, how you like more action-oriented things versus how you like the description to paint in the picture, the whole big idea, while you like the action that goes on between the characters. Alright, so you're more action-oriented, you're more descriptive-oriented. Those are good things to include in your own personal style. Maybe you want to describe something and get to the nitty-gritty details about it, and maybe you want to say how somebody did this because of something that happened to them. How about you, Melissa? Who is your favorite author and why?
I enjoy Stephen King a lot because there's always like hidden meanings in his stories. Like they're about something, you know, it's scary, but it's more than that. Every book he's ever written, it's not just the text you're reading, it's everything underneath it, and it really makes me think about a lot of stuff that, you know, it's not just a book you're...
There's a word for what you're saying, what you're trying to get at. It's
subtext, right?
That's the more scripty film term, I think. There is subtext too, but an allegory. An allegory. He's saying stuff that means other things too.
Yeah.
But yes, it's also subtext as well. The hidden little things that go on between the characters that you don't see, that he doesn't act, even though Stephen King is very descriptive too. He is really descriptive. He takes his time describing.
But the thing about his stuff is they always have more than one meaning, which I like. You're never reading the book that you're reading this horror story, but there's always something underneath it. Whether it has to do with like people, good versus evil, or, you know, drugs or whatever.
So you like there being something more to it.
Yes, absolutely.
You want there to be something.
I'm reading a
hidden
story, but I'm
underneath it,
also
in the
reading
underbelly,
another story.
In between the lines kind of gal.
Yeah.
In between the lines, action, description. Right? Those seem to be our pretty good traits to follow in our styles that we want to start developing. Alright. Mood versus tone. Now they're very similar words, and they mean somewhat different things in real life versus literary life. Does anybody know what the two differences is?
I think tone is like the feelings behind it. Like, is it an angry, like the way they kind of wrote it, like are they angry?
That's absolutely right. The attitude behind it, like if somebody's writing about somebody they don't like, the tone is going to be not as pleasant as if it's somebody that who they would admire that they were writing about. Anybody know what mood might mean?
I guess the overall setting of what they're writing.
That's pretty close to hitting the nail on the head. It's the atmosphere that the mood develops. It's like the like horror feels different than J.R. Tolkien. Although in some parts in J.R. Tolkien it can be quite, there's some horror with the spiders and stuff like that. Mordor. It's almost like you have a different mood when he's talking about Mordor than when he's talking about the Shire, right?
Yeah.
That's another thing. Mood doesn't have to be a constant throughout. You can have a different mood in a different area of a story versus a different area of a story, and that
So I guess you're
So-
saying that mood can set the tone, and I guess vice versa, right? Where
No, tone.
tone sets the mood.
See, that's why I wanted to get at this, because mood and tone are very similar. The tone is specifically how the author feels about the subject. There's some studies that say that J.R.R. Tolkien's work is about is like an extended Christian allegory, right? Have you
Makes
heard that
sense.
before? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have.
So it's almost like the tone that he writes about his orcs are different than the tone he writes about his beloved hobbits, right? You have anything you want to say, Elizabeth?
So if I were to write a book, I could probably use mood to set very different feelings during different scenes. Like if I'm
Mm-hmm.
setting up like the start, like, oh, this is a wonderful little area where they're going, but they, similar to how the hobbits went to Mordor, they're going to this really dangerous place. I'd change the mood to be like,
Mood is different
it's
there.
very unsettling,
Yes.
something's
The
off.
atmosphere has changed.
And then the tone might be something like reaching into a different part of literature, which is the lesson that each and every book, whether the author may or may not mean to actually write it, there is always a lesson.
Mm-hmm. The Catcher in the Rye argument, is that what you're getting?
I don't know what that argument is, but
Okay.
sure.
So
I
we'll,
do.
we'll get it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get into that in another time. I don't know. It wasn't as scandalous as it was made out to be. Let's put it that way.
Not nearly.
You were talking about James Patterson before. You've read more scandalous books than that one. Okay. So, alright, so what do you guys think makes writing unique, and how, we were talking about it a little bit, and how do you think you could use certain things to make your writing more unique?
I think just sticking to your voice, knowing that when you're writing something, people don't want a carbon cutout of everything else that they've read. They want you to have your thoughts and your opinions on it. So just writing the way that you would write, using the words that you still trying to follow the,
Mm-hmm.
but, writing the way that's natural to you.
I actually have a thing to say about it, because I've been watching a YouTuber who gives out writing advice, and she was saying how you should be writing what you want to read, not what
That's
you actually
absolutely true.
want to write. Because sometimes people have some really weird things that they want to write about,
Which is all fine,
Sometimes
but
don't
you
wanna
don't
read
need
it.
to go showing it to everybody, right?
Exactly.
I really like that idea. What you write should be something that you would like to read.
Mm-hmm.
I try to make my lessons only lessons that I would like to take, but sometimes. What do you think makes unique writing style?
Well, I agree with Melissa. It's your own voice. Your writing style is unique. I'm gonna write something totally different than Elizabeth and Melissa, and they're gonna write something totally different than I am. Even if we're talking about the same subject, it's gonna be our own uniqueness, if that's the right word, our own view
Yeah,
on the subject.
you're imposing yourself in your writing.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.